Let's do it live. Let's go live.
Hello,
Are you gonna
everyone, and
let me know when we're
welcome.
live?
We're live.
We're
Welcome
live
to
yet?
Waking Up with Nana and PepPep. And yeah, I am a
We have audio?
Roogs from the internet. I am a Roogs.
Is
Do it
audio
live.
working?
We are doing it live, Don Darrow.
You're doing it
Hello,
live.
I'm a Roogs from the
Not
internet. Also known
not
as
that way, Don
Nana,
Darrow.
aka Amoogs, aka Anna, whichever. I go by it all. I got all. I'm multifaceted. And with me is my co-host, and also, hi, Great Big Bear.
Traumatized.
Hi,
Hey,
thanks
Gabby
for
Bear.
the subscription. Also with me is my
Woohoo.
co-host and one of my best friends on the planet, Sean, aka PepPep. Hi.
Hi.
Happy Mother's Day. Happy Jinx.
First.
Or not happy Mother's Day. We are acknowledging that Mother's Day can be very traumatic and honestly a hard day for those who have lost their mothers, those who don't have a good relationship with your mothers. I know that Mother's Day can
Those who
be
thought they did.
Okay. All right. Leave the trauma for the main content. Okay. So I just a full confession. Mother's Day, I am a mother. Mother's Day is a very mixed bag for me. Hi, Bronner. Happy Sunday. Mother's Day is a mixed bag for me. I have a great time with my kids, and they're very loving on Mother's Day. But I also am in no contact with my mother, so for several years now, and so that is it's a hard day for me. It's so emotionally, it's hard. It's a hard day, but it's also a good day, and so it's a very mixed bag for me. So this is going to be one of those ones. I know that we here completely understand that sometimes Mother's Day is great and sometimes it's not, and we acknowledge that. So
Yes.
here is our wonderful disclaimer. Waking Up with Nana and PepPep, we discuss religious trauma. We, both Sean and I, have grown up in the Southern Baptist Convention. It is an evangelical fundamentalist Protestant faith. And it is we understand that not all faiths are like this, but we are discussing our own experiences growing up. We understand that churches change, but this is our experience. We are not licensed therapists. We are two people who are working through a lot of deconstruction and reconstruction of who we are and how we were raised and what we believe in. We believe that faith and religion can be a very beautiful thing when done with a healthy mental and emotional aspect. However, we were not raised that way. We were raised in a very it was a very cult-like atmosphere, and this is just our experiences, and this show is about community and support and basically talking about our trauma from our point of view. It is completely opinion and just our experience. And if you are suffering from religious trauma or any type of trauma and need help, please, if you have to reach out to us, we will get you in touch with people that can get you that help. Sean and I both have gone through very extensive therapy and are still doing extensive therapy, trying to work through, and we are not perfect and we don't know it all, but we are definitely just working through it. So that is our disclaimer.
Good disclaimer. Very important to put that out there.
We're ready to talk mama trauma.
Oh God. Oh God. Mama trauma.
Mama
It's
trauma.
gonna be a shirt. It's gonna be some merch.
We're gonna talk some mama trauma. Because I have a lot of it. A lot of mama trauma.
And apparently I do too. Okay, so yes, we've been disclaimed. So I've been in therapy for several years. With a current therapist for about a year or so. But it is not until the last few months where I have started to unpack my trauma related to my parents, my childhood. I'm still in the last 24 hours, I have been doing some work to go through that. And it is not an easy thing to do. It's kind of the glass shattering moment. Like, have you seen How I Met Your Mother when they had that episode when the glass shatters and they're going, oh, and then it can't unsee it. That's been me over the last like 24 hours. So
I'm gonna just stop and interrupt. Great Big Bear. I understand that this is gonna be a hard episode if you don't have to. I know that
mhm,
yeah, Great Big Bear's mother is not with us anymore, and I know that this is gonna be difficult. You do not have to stay if you don't want to. You can,
we
but
love
we
Great Big Bear.
completely understand. We do love you so much, and we know that you support you, and we understand that. I have several friends who have already lost their mothers, and that is completely fine. Just like we said, we will not like any of these are like a lot of what we talk about is very triggering for some people.
Yes.
And we completely understand that. And we know that you don't like, we know that if you can't watch, we know that that's perfectly fine. So
Yep.
if any of this discussion triggers you or is hard to you, and we understand that people who've lost their mothers would give anything to have them back, and that is not what we are saying. None of this is from a place of where we hate our mothers. I do, even though I am in no contact with my mother, I love her. She is my mother. I love her, but there are some things as an adult that I had to come to reality is that my mother is human. So I am putting that out there for those. We understand Mother's Day is hard for a lot of people for different reasons. So we were back and forth, actually back and forth about whether we were going to talk about this. And
Hmm.
Sean and I had long discussions. Luckily I had a long drive
We did.
yesterday and we had a long discussion. Are we going to do this? Are we not going to do this? Because we did have a different topic. Um, but
Yep.
I left the decision up to Sean, and he decided that this is something he really felt he needed to address. And so I was like, all right,
Yep.
we'll hop on board with it. So that being
Yeah. This is
said,
gonna this is gonna be a hard episode for. I think it's gonna be a hard episode for us too. I know it's gonna be a hard episode for me because you will probably see through this episode some of the work that I'm doing, that the realizations that I've come to in the last 24 hours to couple months play out, um, and how I feel about them in real time. So as opposed to things that we've experienced or dealt with months or years ago, and then we're just talking about it. Yeah, I'm probably gonna be dealing with some stuff as we go. So bear with me.
okay, I will be kind. I will be kind.
You definitely
So
can.
growing up, we'll start with basics. We'll start with easy. Growing up, we
Mhm.
both Sean and I grew up in the good old South, good old North Carolina. We were raised
Yep.
Southern Baptist.
Yep.
Good old church. And
Little church.
little
Cute little church.
churches.
Mhm.
I actually, I was very, very active in our church up until college, which is when a lot of people get out. A lot of people get out. If they get out, that's the first wave. You know how they say, like, when marriages end, it's the first year, 5 years, whatever. Usually the first wave of people getting out is about after they graduate high school and they leave for college.
Mhm.
Um, that's the first wave. I sort of left in that first wave. I had a resurgence there for about a year, and then I was like, but
Yep.
yeah, no. So, um, but I remember I was active in the music, in the music scene there in church, and I sang on Mother's Day a lot. I sang like I would be the solo. I would sing the song about mothers and how great they
Um,
were, and um, yeah, always talking about the perfect mom. Ugh. They always had the sermon about the godly woman and how the godly
yes.
woman and the perfect mom, like,
Mhm. And that
yeah,
that standard, right? That high
the standard.
standard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you didn't meet that if you didn't meet that standard, if you didn't check all those boxes, must have meant something.
I feel like though that hammered home a lot the
Mhm.
perfection part of it. Like, you know how I don't know about your mom, but my mom was always, we had to look a certain way, we had to act a
Mhm.
certain way, we had to
Mhm.
be these things. I think that hammered that home. It's like,
Mhm.
be the perfect mom, and to be the perfect mom
Mhm.
you have to have the perfect kids. So to be the perfect mom and have the perfect kids, you got to do these things and submit to your husbands
Mhm.
and all of these things. And What?
Yeah. It
Eh?
creates some unhealthy modeling. It creates unhealthy behaviors and coping mechanisms, right? That's where a lot of our stuff came from. Is yeah, there's a lot of perfection dressing a certain way, and the justification for me it was khakis and like a button down kind of dress up. Whenever I was like, why do I have to do this? Mom's response was, well, if your grandmother had her way, you'd be in a suit and tie. So she just deflected.
I can't function. I just,
Yeah.
oh my goodness.
And for
So,
me, growing up in the church, attendance was man. I attended everything. I said this in a previous one. It was always being in church. You're expected to go. And then so I went. I did kind of what you did when you go to college. A lot of people stop going to or stop going to church when they go to college because now it's their decision. They go or not or don't go. And then a lot of times there's a resurgence after a year or two. They're like, oh, I should. You start feeling bad for some reason. You decide to start going. Your resurgence lasted about a year. My resurgence lasted about 20 years.
that was a long resurgence. I don't know.
That was a long. That was a long.
um
Yeah.
I
So.
yeah, like my mom, it was what I came to find out that after a few years ago when I finally went no contact, and I started working on I started doing unpacking and
Hmm.
deconstructing all of the emotional baggage that my mom had caused me, or that was started by my mom. I was realizing that my mom is a very narcissistic, toxic mother who and might could, according to my therapist, because this is undiagnosed, could have some type of bipolar, borderline personality disorder, um,
Hmm.
due to a lot of the traumas that happened to her.
Hmm.
That back in that day you didn't talk about, you didn't get the help, you didn't
Hmm.
get those things, you didn't get those coping mechanisms, and here's the thing, the only coping mechanisms for I feel for our mom's generation wasn't therapy. You didn't go to therapy when,
No.
like, I'm 39, I'm in my late 30s, and so back when our parents were in their late 30s, you didn't go to therapy. That was not a thing.
Mm.
You went to therapy if you were like really not well. But other than that,
Yeah.
your therapy was going to church. Your
Yeah. Oh yeah.
therapy was
Your
the
therapist was
Bible.
your therapist
Yes.
was the pastor or the church
Yes.
leaders. Hmm.
It was not, and that
Yep.
was like, you notice that they threw themselves into, I don't know about you. My mom threw herself into the church. That is
Oh,
what she
absolutely.
did, and used it as a
They
weapon
mhm.
against us a
they
lot.
define them. They define themselves. They define. Mom defined herself by the church activities and pushed that on me and my brothers and I. Where now with my what's interesting about my see, I have two brothers, older and a younger, so I'm in the middle. And my older brother rejected. He was like, "Forget it, screw it, I ain't doing it." He flat out just um, pushed back. Whereas my younger brother went more the passive route, and he just didn't really do stuff. He kind of went in the passive. You can't actually make me do it, so I'm just not gonna do it. Whereas my older brother was defiant. So I was the middle child. Anyone that's a middle child knows middle children tend to be the peacekeepers and the ones that placate people and the ones that are people pleasers. And so I became, yeah, right. So a lot of that focus I think, fell on me to be the perfect one and the golden child. That is a lot. It's a lot to take on. And I didn't even realize it for a while that that's what was happening. And to take, but even if you don't realize it, it's you still know it. You just don't know it. And trying to live up to that, oh man, that weighs on you. That weighed on me. Always trying to live up to this idea, this perfection.
everybody has a different relationship with their mother. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
both my kids, both my girls have a different relationship with me because they're different people. And it wasn't until I became a mom that I realized you have to treat your kids differently. You can't have the same. I mean,
Mhm.
you have the blanket expectations. I expect you to behave in public and whatever that looks like for you. I
Mhm.
expect you to, but at the same time that they're their own people. They're going to listen
Mhm.
differently. Their ideas are different. Like it's all different. You have to accept that. Like I think, and I
Mhm.
think my mom had a hard time. She had this ideal in her head. And I, my sister, here is when my sister met that ideal. I love my sister. I am not bashing my sister. For the
Mhm.
longest time, I actually hated my sister because I was never going to be as good as Liz. I was never going to
Mhm.
be as good as my sister because she was beautiful and she was skinny and she was smart and she was all the things that she was popular. She was all the things that I wasn't. I was always trying to live up to the ideal because why? And she was younger than me. And so I that ingrained in
That's an
me.
interesting reverse.
Yeah, exactly. And so I spent
Mhm.
most of my life being the child that was trying to earn my mother's love, which is yay!
Ooh.
Trying to earn love. That is a
Wow.
great thing. And you trying to
Mm.
earn your mom's love while trying to earn God's love. And that makes a great combination of teaching you what love is.
Did you feel like that played out later in life?
I feel like it did. I feel
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
You want to talk
Yeah.
about emotional deconstruction? That's it right there. Mental and emotional deconstruction
Mhm.
is trying to figure out that I didn't have to earn anyone's love if they truly loved me. If I had to earn their love, if I had to
Mhm.
do things to earn somebody's love, that wasn't love.
Mm-mm. Nope.
I was like,
D
what do you mean? What are you
Yep.
talking about? It says in the Bible I've got to do these things, and my mom said that if I was going to be a good child and a good daughter, I had to do
Mhm.
these things. What the fuck are you talking about?
Mhm.
That was not okay with me.
Love you grew up with very stringy love.
I did that
Mhm.
stringy love like a freaking net that I was woven.
Mhm.
I I had all I wanted was to make my mother love me. I spent a lot of my life trying to earn love because I didn't think I was worthy of love. And I think on top of that, my mom making me feel like I wasn't worthy of love if unless I was doing these things on top of
Mhm.
that's what the church teaches you to do. So it lined up so perfectly with that. The church was teaching me that I was unworthy unless I was saved. I was unworthy
Mhm.
unless I did these things and I was a disciple of Christ and I followed all of these things. So it as growing from a small child with these two major influences in my life, my mom, because my parents divorced when I was young. They separated and divorced when I was young. So my mom was my main parent for a long time. With my mom and then the church teaching this,
Mm.
it really like I to
Everything
this
was
day there's a
earned.
lot of yeah, everything was earned. Everything I had to do a certain thing, I had to act a certain way, I had to be a
Mhm.
certain person to be worthy. And
Mhm.
the reality is that I'm worthy just as is. Broken,
Yep.
weird, just
Mhm.
myself as is. As is. I
Mhm.
am valuable as a person and as an individual. And if I have to
Absolutely.
prove myself or I have to do certain things to be worthy of somebody's
Mhm.
love, then they're not worthy of mine. That is the one thing
Yep.
I had. And that's not selfish.
Mm-mm.
That's
Not at all.
just so about
Yeah.
your siblings.
Oh, yes. Okay. So my younger brother is 8 years younger than me, which I don't know if anyone has any siblings that are that many years. It's very different than if your sibling is a couple years younger than you. So I'm a couple years younger than my older brother, but 8 years, or I'm a couple years younger than my older brother, and 8 years older than my younger brother. Um, he he had I say this is unfortunate. He had the misfortune of looking and acting like me. He looked like me 8 years apart. Um, and again, remember I was the perfect child. I was the one that was trying to, I think, earn my mother's love and be perfect because I had to be perfect in order to be worthy, just like you. Um, he comes along and I think he immediately feels like he fell into my shadow because again, he not only 8 years younger, but he looks like me and he talks like me, acts like me, and so people immediately compare the two. He ended up, went to the same high school, had the same teachers, went to college, went to the same college, had the same professors, the same major. I'm pretty sure he has trauma from that.
But
And
how did your relationship with him, how did your mother tie into all of that?
I think she always compared I don't, whether she directly did it or not. My mother is the queen of indirect, of passive aggressive and passivity and guilt trips. So there wasn't a lot of direct stuff. There was a whole lot of implied stuff, implied communication. And so I'm I think it was she would constantly compare, even if it was just like jokingly about, like she would call him my name all the time. Um, and teachers and other people would call him my name all the time because we look similar. Um, I think it was a matter of comparison. It was I um I had a job when I as soon as I could. I did independence. I did all these things. Um, I pushed myself. I was an overachiever, and
Why did
I
you
think
push
it was
yourself?
just because I had to earn my place. I had to earn. I think it was a combination of her high expectations for me that I had to be a good Christian boy.
Oh, I
Um,
hate that phrase. You have to be a good Christian.
good Christian,
Insert
yes,
whatever descriptive it
whatever,
is there. You have
yes,
to be a good Christian. You got to be a good Christian girl and meet a good
yep,
Christian boy and have a good Christian
yep,
marriage. Fuck good Christian, whatever. Like, anyway,
yep.
sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead. Okay.
I was always in the church, and there was always like the church doors are open. I was active in the youth group, and I went on mission trips, and I checked all of the boxes. I strove to check all of the boxes because that's how I was defining myself. I was earning that love and appreciation, and because I was younger than 3 years younger than my older brother, and he's the oldest, he's the firstborn, and he demanded attention. He's got spoiled pretty heavily in some regards. So there was a combination of earning, but also in a way I was rebelling against his behavior and what my in the way my mother treated him. My mother is an enabler. And right, yeah, I know you're going. I'm telling the audience. I'm telling our viewers. They don't
Oh,
know
okay.
this.
If for those of you who
You
don't know,
know
that's the
this.
Miko lean. I'm calling it the Miko lean from now on. It's the one where you lean
Yes,
back and
it's
then you
the
say something. You're like,
hmm.
go on.
Hmm. Go on. Do tell.
It's the Miko
From
lean.
fr-
It's gonna be dance move.
from now on, it's going to be a zebra donut in one hand, and a glass of Riesling in the other. Go on.
No, a giraffe. A giraffe. A giraffe.
Oh yes, and a giraffe. Yes, continue. Um. So, yeah, my mother enabled him. Um. And I fought for my independence because I saw that and I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that. Because I'm the perfect child. I can be the perfect child. I can be the perfect one. And yeah. So it was trying to be the ideal. And the problem with that is you can't. One, it's typically a moving goalpost. Um and it's just not possible. So because it's all subjective.
I know you don't have kids, so you're
Mhm.
not a parent. So I know for me, uh, like I I desperately I didn't even know. I didn't even know that my parents' behavior was toxic. That my
Mhm.
mom's the way she spoke, like I didn't know. And like you yesterday when you had that moment of oh shit, I when I finally came like and I'm very thankful that you didn't have to go through what I went through, Sean. I for those of you who don't know, I almost got admitted into a mental institution. My therapist was like, do you need to be do you need to be admitted? I was that bad. I had gotten to that point with my mother. And that is why, like, with
Mhm.
my mother, I had almost, I was that bad. And I had let myself, because my inability to, like, I was literally still going, she's not bad. I'm just trying to help. She's not, this isn't toxic. This isn't like, this is, I'm just trying to help. I'm just trying to help. And I kept saying, I don't understand why. I don't understand why. I don't understand why. And now I understand why. Like, it's that breakdown of that wall, like you said, that wall glass, that shattering of realizing this behavior is not okay. And your parents aren't perfect.
Mhm.
And that
Yep.
this is the part where it's, I didn't get angry. I was heartbroken. So I want to make that incredibly clear. Yes, I went through the anger phase. Yes, I did all of that. Yes, I'm not talking to my
Mhm.
mother. And there's some people whose mothers aren't with us anymore, and they would give anything, and that is fantastic, and I am very absolutely so happy that you had that relationship with your mothers, because that's the type of relationship I wish I had. I didn't
Mhm.
have that. And so, and it was that moment where I was heartbroken. I was heartbroken. And even up until the point when I finally had to make the choice of, I can't, I need a break. I need to not have her in my life until I get through this work, that I get through this healing.
Mhm.
That it was just like, even up until that point, I'm your mother. I'm your mother.
Oh, I've heard that a few times.
I'm your mother. And when I went no
I'm your
contact,
mother.
but she's your mother.
Oh, yes.
God made you my child. God made me your mother.
I brought
Like,
I brought you into this world.
I brought you into this world. God, like,
Mm.
God chose me as your parents. I'm like, no, actually, my dad's sperm, though he was the fastest swimmer,
The fastest swimmer,
chose
right?
me as your, like, like biologically. No, God didn't do anything, but we're not even gonna go into that. But like,
Yeah.
it's
I dealt with, yeah, the but I'm your mother. My mother was the queen of quick guilt trips and passive aggressive, and there was always, but I'm your mother, and she would always do it in that sort of joking manner, but you knew she wasn't really joking.
the joke, but not
That was
joke.
my, yes, where she would kind of laugh about it, but you knew she was just being, she was really serious. She was like being serious. She just didn't. Oh, and that drove me. Yeah, you. That's one thing that I've come to realize or decide is that family, you don't pick your family
I brought you into
just
this
because they're
world. I can
your
take you
blood.
out.
Yep. And if
Nope.
Miko, our resident PhD, a hottie with a, what's the phrase?
A hottie with a PhD.
Yeah, hottie with a PhD. Yeah, she's got a good episode on talking about that stuff and about your family. You don't know jack squat to your family. You don't know anything to your mom or to your dad because they brought you into this world. You didn't have a choice in that. They raised you. I didn't have a choice in that. And
But the
I got that stuff from my mom.
But you got that stuff from your mom because the church reinforced it. You're
Yes.
like,
Oh
the
yeah, yeah.
church reinforces family first, because here's
Family
where
family
here's where it all
values.
Right, family values, focus on the
Mhm.
family, which we're
Oh my god,
no,
Charles
yeah, okay.
Dobson, Focus. Oh my, sorry, had a moment.
Yeah, we got a little triggered. But
Oh.
that's how the church, when you're raised in the Southern Baptist Church, it all
Mhm,
starts with, okay. It's sort of like it's a cycle, like a cult. Okay, so they
yes.
get this
Mhm,
person in the church. Okay, so you become a good Christian person,
mhm.
and then you are raised in all of these things, and you're indoctrinated, and then you are encouraged to find yourself in the church, hopefully the
In the
same
church.
church,
Yes. Oh, yes,
um,
attendance is important.
hopefully in the same church if it's not a small church, but even still in the same type of
Mhm.
vein, you find yourself a good Christian partner and you guys get married. So you
Yes.
have you're
Good
the
Christian girl, good Christian
good
boy.
Christian, yeah, you're the good Christian
Mhm,
couple, which
mhm.
immediately you're expected to have the good Christian babies. And the good Christian babies
Well,
and
marriage and then the babies, but yeah.
married, well, I said good Christian, you get married and you get a
Okay,
couple,
oh,
and
okay,
then
yeah.
you're expected to have the good Christian babies, and then you have the good
Mhm,
Christian family, so that they have that they are in there with your kids, and so you are raising your kids in the good Christian church, so that the cycle starts over, so that they can indoctrinate you young, how they can groom you
yes, get
in
them
this
young. Wow, this
mindset.
sounds what is it? This sounds what does this sound like? What do people call this thing when you're just when it's all about, indoctrinating the next generation? Oh, that's right. I think they call this a cult.
Cult.
Yes,
So,
yes.
and that's where it comes in, and the mothers, and a lot of, and I don't know if we how deep we've gone into this, but I know, um in the Southern Baptist Church, you're the good Christian family. Man is head of the
Mhm,
household. They do the manly
mhm,
work. They are the manly.
mhm,
They are in charge. They are the leaders. And it is the
mhm,
mother's job to train
mhm,
up and teach the children and take care of the
mhm.
children, and it's their
Yep.
job. So the men are above the women and the women are above the kids, and that is the
Mhm,
hierarchy of everything. And so that is,
mhm.
I don't know about your house, again, I can't speak for you, but
It
for
was.
me
Mhm.
that is the mindset of my house.
That was the
That
modeling in my house too.
that
Mhm,
was the mindset. It was, and then when my mom got married to my stepdad, it was my stepdad was the head of the household, and his
yep,
word went. And my stepdad was
yep,
really a great guy. I mean, he had his issues too, but
mhm.
for all intents and purposes, he was a good guy. So luckily, he wasn't. It could have been worse. But my
Well,
stepdad.
I remember him.
We'll go into that
I've
later.
got one s yeah, yeah, that's another
But
day.
it was the mom's job, and it was
Mhm,
all, and that was how I was raised. That's how I thought motherhood what is the mom's job to
mhm,
make sure the kids did what they were supposed to do, how they were supposed to be raised,
mhm.
what they believed in. The It was the mother's job, and if the kid
Yeah.
didn't behave, if the kid was
What?
disobedient, mouthy, and questioned everything, and and wasn't fitting the mold, it was the mother's failure. Your mother was not doing a job. You
Yes,
were a reflection of your
yes.
mother. And it wasn't necessarily a reflection of your dad or your parent. It was
Nope.
a direct correlation
Yep,
with your mother. Your kid, like my
yep.
behavior was a reflection on my mom. So my
Mhm,
mom often didn't get all of some of these leadership women role, the ones in the
mhm,
WMU and all this stuff, because I obviously she still needs to get a handle on her life and her household,
mhm.
because of Anna just doesn't, she's just
How can
that.
she be an effective teacher and leader of other women, not of men, of other women, if she can't keep you under control,
Which is
right?
probably why I got a lot of punishments. And by punishments, I mean, well, we all know what the
What
I got
trauma
met
what
with the
trauma and punishments lead to.
trauma and punishment. I got met with that after church often. Often.
Mhm.
My mom was
Were
in the
you raised by the
choir.
belt?
We did get raised by the Bible Belt. So but my
Uh-huh, and
mom
the wooden spoon.
often, we would sit in the balcony, and we I
Mhm.
she was best friends My family was best friends with the pastor's family. And
Mhm.
so me and the pastor's daughter were the same age, literally like 6 months apart. And so we would sit in the back, and of course the PK kids going to act like a fool. And so we're up in the balcony,
PK
and
kids are
they
great.
faced each other, right? The choir and the balcony faced each
Oh, yeah,
other.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we're
yeah, yeah,
up in
yeah.
the back, very last row, causing all
Sweating
chaos,
up.
right where our parents, our moms who sat together could see us. And they were in like the late 80s, early 90s, the big glasses, the big, reading glass. The
Yes.
entire church knew when we were in trouble because they both the pastor's wife and my mom were very
Mhm.
blue-eyed. So always knew we were going to get our asses beat because it would go like this, and then their eyes would fill the glasses. So it was like cartoonish. It was how like their eyes would fill the glasses, and everyone knew we were in trouble. And yeah, we would
Yeah.
go home, and it's like, why can't you listen? Why can't you be a good, like, it was that whole,
Mhm.
well, it was my responsibility, like, to be a reflection on her. And I got held to that standard a lot and for a very long time. And my mom, even after I got out of the church and my mom got out of the church, even to that day, she still was like, every accomplishment I ever did was, well, if I hadn't done this, you would have never been able to accomplish that. Or every accomplishment I
Oh.
had was a direct
Mm.
reflection on her. I have
Yes.
smart, beautiful kids because she gave me good genetics. It was like that all the time. So from birth, and I didn't realize that was toxic because that's how I was raised. That's how the church
Yeah, that's all
taught
you
you.
know.
That's
Mhm.
all I know. Like, I was a direct
Mhm.
reflection of my mom. So obviously anything I accomplish is a reflection on my mother.
Well, but you know how the church reinforces that, right? The moment anything positive happens, the moment anything positive happens, what do good Christians do? Well, of course, the first they praise God. Well, I couldn't have done this with if it wasn't for God. God gave me. This is all attributed to God. So all she's doing really is reflecting that. Well, you should be giving the credit to her. Well, she just bypassed that and just went ahead and
Are you
yeah.
going to talk about it, or are we going to skip
Which
past
one?
it?
Oh no, no,
About
we're
being
talking
a
about it. Which one are we
reflection
talking
of our
about?
mom?
Oh God, yeah, 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 oh, yeah.
This is, see, remember, like, when True Love Waits for Me? This is a very major one for Sean. So I want everybody to hold on and be patient with him because
I don't.
I was giving him a lead way, but he doesn't do lead-ins very well.
No,
He doesn't.
no.
Like, you should watch him try to flirt, or somebody
I
try and flirt with him. It's pretty
oh,
hysterical. I
it's
literally have to go over and
terrible.
go, Sean, get her fucking number. Like, I literally have to do so.
There's a guy on TikTok who has flirting similar. Yeah. So I didn't realize this until recently that my mother made me responsible for her emotions and her own trauma when I was growing up, and actually still does. Mom has 3 sons. Oldest one straight up rebels, so it falls on me. If I became her saving grace, because if her first son rebels, well, at least she raised a good second. Because again, me and my younger brother 8 years apart. So if at least I was redeemable, then she felt validated as a mom. But if I didn't, then no. So I think she took all of that trauma and all of that emotion and just funneled it into trying to get me to be the ideal son, the perfect son. And I took it on. I became a pleaser. I tried to do all
That's
the
what she
right
said.
things. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Um that and I didn't realize how deep that went until recently. Um, that's where I really feel that's where I created my codependency because I became responsible for her emotions. That's where people pleasing comes in. And I remember seeing videos and research about people pleasing, and they're talking about it all starts in childhood, and I'm like, but it didn't for me. And then I realized, yeah, it did. I just didn't realize it. I just wasn't. My brain wasn't ready for that.
I'm going to pause and I'm going to
Hmm.
mention. So, in bringing up this topic, when I said, "Hey,
Oh
Sean, let's talk
God.
about Mother's Day." Mother's Day is tomorrow. I totally blanked on me because, and I said, "Do you want to talk about moms and or do you want to just stick with the topic that we have?" And he goes, "Well, I don't know how I would contribute." And I went, "What?" We've literally had multiple conversations about things about your mom and that you are going through. And you literally in that moment said, "You have nothing to contribute." Well, yeah. I'm like, okay. And he was like, "Wait."
My
I went,
uh
yeah.
oh. She's like, do you want me to start? No, and you know what? Yeah, let's start. I my brain just like locked down. I hit a wall when you said that. My and I immediately was like, okay, well, what would I? And then I hit a wall. I was like, yeah, coping mechanisms,
Coping
defense
mechanisms.
mechanisms. Yeah,
Yay. Yay for brain protecting itself.
yeah.
And
But I
I'm
re-
not I'm bringing that up because I've done it too. I do it too, and I know that there are a lot of people in our chat or that are watching this that have dealt with this, and your brain does protect itself, and you learn a lot of these things from childhood, like especially when it's a parent
Mhm,
that that's your main parent, that's your main caregiver. Like you can have two people in your household, but there's always like, you have co-parenting and then there's households
mhm.
very much like a Southern Baptist household where there's a main caregiver and it's usually your mother.
Yes, and
And
that was my mom.
and so that
My
your
mhm.
brain and your whole thing will protect itself and that's what it does. And yeah. So his brain went on lockdown. I literally said, "Do you
It
want to talk
did.
about this?" And he was like, "I don't have anything to talk about." I went, "We literally had a discussion like we literally had a discussion like the day
We
before." And I went, "What?" Okay.
yeah.
So,
But I think that's where I really think that's where my codependency came from. Is I She made me responsible for her emotions and for the trauma that she was dealing with. Um, that that kind of pisses me off because codependency has been a big problem for my entire life for as long as I can remember. It was the main topic for my therapy sessions when I was married. Um, Codependency has put me in a really bad place, and realizing that's where it started, there's there's a lot of anger that comes up. A lot of like, holy, really? Her trauma had this effect 40 years of my life. I'm still fighting it, dealing with. And then I realized that choices, and then I started to think about all the choices that I made throughout my life, in high school and college, and like, how many of those choices did I make because I wanted that, or did I make it because she wanted me to, or because she influenced it? The glass shattered, and it's just mixture of sadness, anger, shame, all of it.
mhm. You because you're not a parent, like I've dealt with that in with me being a mom. And I've dealt with that in I made a lot of parenting choices because my mom did it. It was good enough for my mom. Hi
Hmm.
Calvino. Like it was
Hey,
good enough for my
Calvino.
mom. And then when
Yep.
I started to do the work on separating myself from my mother and realizing that I am my own parent, I am my own mother, I am my own, I can do my thing,
Mhm.
realizing I don't want to be like my mom. And that's heartbreaking. Like I
Mhm.
dealt with the anger and I have a lot of anger going like, but I mine was
Mhm.
very sad. It was very sad because I had to learn, and they say that you learn what to do by being by learning what not to do.
Mhm.
And that's sort of, it's like I just don't want to be my mom. Like there's some, and I am so, and I'm going to be honest, I am not Did I am jealous. I am jealous of those girls who have those really close relationships with their mom, and I'm really jealous of those people that have those relationships with their mom because my mom
Mhm.
made me responsible for her trauma. And
Mhm.
everything I did was supposed to be better than that. You know what I mean? Like everything I did, she helped my grandmother. So I needed to help her. Her expectation was that I was just supposed to take care of her the rest of her life. And it's one of those, hey, nobody asked me. No, but they never ask you. They never freaking ask you.
Mhm. Nope. Just assumptions were made. And my mom still pulls I still feel her attempting to right the ship, from some of the choices that I've made.
Like what?
Well, like recently, so she has told me,
You're right, Calvina.
sorry, trying to go back in my head. Um, Whenever I wasn't going to church, because there were periods where I stopped going to church for different reasons. Um, every conversation was, "So have you found a church yet?" Like that was crucial. It wasn't about anything substantial. It wasn't like, "How are you?" There was no real conversation. It was, "Have you found church yet?" "Oh, you haven't found a church yet? You should go to our church's website and go download the messages. You'd really like these messages." Like, it was all about going to church, reading your Bible, reading your devotionals, making sure you're listening to good, wholesome Christian music. That was it. That's what I grew up being taught, believing, and that continues to this day, where she sent me. So I told her a few months ago that, when again she asked, "So are you going back to church after COVID and all this stuff? Is your church open back up? Are you going to church?" And I said, "I just don't think I'm going to do that anymore. I'm having a hard time believing. I just don't feel like I believe a lot of the stuff anymore, and I don't feel like church is where I need to be. I don't believe a lot of it anymore." Um, and oh my god, it was like I had just sucker punched her. And then this past Easter, because she always sends me an Easter gift. It was a card, and in that card was a Bible verse. Not just any Bible verse. It was 14:6, John 14:6, I believe. "I am the way, the truth, and the life." And that pissed me off. I got angry and I threw the card in the trash. It pissed me off because that is her passive aggressive way. When I told her I'm not going to church anymore, that was her way of going, that was her fire insurance scripture. That's what that was. That was the, "But, if you want to go to heaven, you gotta go to church."
What if I don't believe that
And
there's a
I
heaven? What if I
and
don't
I see
believe
I
that?
saw and I saw through this, and it pissed me off because I could see, I felt that. And I'm like, no, Chuck. I did keep the $20 though.
Addison raised Catholic restaurants, and what if I decided to be Muslim? She lost it. Oh, see, I remember that fight. It was a fight. It turned into an hour long fight. I remember that.
Mhm.
I remember that. That one was yeah, and parents, and that's the thing. And I know, okay, as a mother, I know that they are that is how they were raised. So, but
Mhm.
I think our generation, to be honest, with our generation, are being taught that it's okay to be a cycle breaker. That just because our
Mhm.
parents were racist or homophobes or religious doesn't mean that we have to be
Mhm.
that way. We can be the cycle breaker, and we can
Yes.
be that. I remember very distinctly my mother is incredibly
Mhm.
intelligent. That is how she was able to mask a lot of her, and I think they feel failure if we don't follow in their footsteps. Exactly.
Yes.
Um,
Agreed.
Sean has a story for that, but I'm gonna
I
go.
do? Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. You'll see in a minute. So we can be the cycle breakers. We don't have
Mhm.
to push our kids into believing in whatever deity it is. And
Mhm.
we can teach our kids that they can explore for themselves. We can be
Mhm.
better parents. We
Yep.
can be more loving and accepting and don't have to accept this cycle of
Mhm.
because our parents and my mom taught me. My mom is incredibly intelligent, which is why she was able to mask a lot of her narcissism and her disorders because she's
Mhm.
incredibly smart. And it is when you are Jewish moms are the ultimate guilt trip masters. I don't know. I mean, yes,
Mm.
Bronner, but I don't know. I
Southern
would go to
Southern Baptist moms.
no Catholics. I've seen some Catholic
Oh,
guilt.
that really?
Ooh, I've seen it. I don't know. I feel like they.
Some of them hone it like it's a craft. It is
It is
their
a craft.
superpower.
But what I was saying is my mom taught me be Southern stupid. Men don't like it. And this is what men don't like it when you're smarter
Mhm.
than them. You have to, like, it's okay to be intelligent and be smart and be beautiful, but just play stupid. Help them feel better. That's why you're not finding a good man, is because you're over there. She literally
Mm.
told me that's why I wasn't finding a good man. Is because when I was, before I got married, it's like, that's why it's because they don't like it when you're smarter than them or you're better than them. So it's okay to play Southern stupid. Be the good Christian girl and just let him be the head of the household. Let him be in charge.
She did have a point. She was right, sort of. You weren't gonna find a good Christian man, good Christian boy by being who you are because those people
Religious
were
guilt, you
because
right.
they were taught to look for people who were not you. And I say good because they weren't probably good. So, yeah, but you didn't want to find one of them. That was the thing that was missing right there.
But because of that, and it's
Mhm.
because my mother played that. My mother did that. That's honestly, I always make the mention that my mom and my dad should have never gotten married because they are two very different people. They should have never gotten married. But my mom, being the good, she was raised independent, like religion, like non-denominational, like super fundamentalist. Which she went to a Christian high school of like whatever.
Ooh,
Yeah, so
yeah.
she was raised that way. And so I had to, and my dad was not a good Christian. And so that's how, because they met in church. But she's like, no, but my mom was like, no, you have to find a good Christian man. You have to be that way.
Mhm.
And so she was teaching me how to not make the mistakes that she made, to try to justify her choices and what she did to
Yes, yes.
justify the fact that she played and downplayed all her life, her intelligence and her whatever to the man. Now, if to me, she was the smartest thing in the room, but to her husband
Mhm.
or any man, she was not. And so she used that, and then she trained me to do that because that's what we did. That's what in the church, she like I was an extension. I
Yep.
had to justify her choices.
My mom looked to me to validate hers, to validate her choices, her behaviors. that became evident to me when I was going through my separation.
Oh.
Yeah. So I found out, well, after I officially separated, that my mom uh did not like my ex. She didn't like how my ex treated me. My ex, by the way, when I met her, she was a good Christian girl. Yeah, that didn't go well. That's a whole nother long conversation. So
I
I
knew
found
she
out that my
wasn't. But that's fine.
yeah
Go ahead.
just like I kind of was pretending to be, thought she was.
Anyway,
So
sorry.
anyway, I found out my mother did not like her. Well, neither did I. That's why we were getting divorced. Part of why. But at the same time that my mother finally admitted that she didn't like the way she treated me, she would also turn around and ask me repeatedly, "Are you sure you guys can't reconcile?" I told her I was miserable. I started telling her things that I hadn't told her because in my marriage you didn't talk about stuff with other people. That was one of the big old red
But
flags.
that was also, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I'll help you
Mhm.
get back online. But I'm actually thinking about that because your ex-wife was raised Pentecostal, and she was saying
Yes.
you don't talk about it, you don't tell anybody else about it. You pretend
Mhm.
so really that's
Mhm.
also, I mean, yes, that's a lot of her trying to hide
We
all of her bad shit, but like we're
Yes.
not even getting
We
on
had
that. We're
we had a double dose. We had a double dose in the marriage of religious trauma, and we never dealt with it, and that's what created such a toxic environment.
So she was trying to pretend to be perfect because that's what she was raised. And even though it wasn't just,
Yes.
ooh,
It
I
wasn't
just
her.
made your ex-wife less enemy and less evil in my head. I'm gonna have to sit with that. Continue.
She Yes, she has yeah, mhm. We can talk about that offline, or during another podcast. Yes. So, my mother's like, "Yes, she was bad for you, she didn't treat you right. Are you sure you can't do you sure you have to get divorced?" Like, I'm sorry, what? Do you realize that I mean, and I was telling her all the stuff, all the bad things that had happened, all the really toxic behaviors on both sides that happened during the marriage, and she's still saying, "Are you sure you guys can't make it work?" Like, "Mom, I am depressed. I am in a very bad place. We're this is not Oh yeah, Mom, she has a boyfriend. Mom, I don't think it's no, it's not gonna happen. Are you sure?" Like, and I it wasn't until recently, sometime the last year, that I realized that I think she was validating her own trying by if I reconciled, that would validate her own. I think her own situation was not as rosy as she made everyone think and wanted me to think. I think she was dealing with some of her own demons, and by if I reconciled, that would validate choices that maybe she made years ago, but I wasn't because I was like, no, this is not healthy and this is not going to work. I deserve to be happy, and this marriage is not happy. This is not going to work. I've tried 15 years. I tried. So yeah, I think she was looking to me to validate her things that she chose to do, her choices.
How does that make you feel?
Oh my god, another glass shattering, another like. Fortunately, when that occurred, fortunately, I was at a place where I wasn't so, uh, where I
Bronner.
recognized what
Sorry.
when
I was like,
okay.
Bronner, yeah. I mean, there are those there,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Yep.
was I mean, my mom didn't pass, but I didn't have like, yeah, I feel that. I feel
Mhm.
that. Sorry. Go ahead, Sean. We were talking about
Oh,
how
I
it
forgot
made
what I
you
was saying.
feel. How
Oh,
it
yeah,
made you
yeah.
feel.
Um, Like, it kinda scares me to think of, like, what if I think the reason I stayed in the marriage so long was because I was supposed to, because that's what was modeled for me. Um, my mother was very subservient to my dad because, good Christian wife is that's what happens. And I think even though I was the man, the male, the household, whatever, I think her modeling that behavior, I took that on. I think I reflected that in my own marriage. I put up with a lot of stuff that I shouldn't have put up with because, well, I grew up in a Christian home, and I was taught you don't get divorced. Divorce isn't an option. Even so much that I even took that was so ingrained in me that when I did end up in a situation where the Bible does say that it's totally okay to get divorced, even when that situation presented itself, I still I was my self-worth was so broken that I still didn't take the opportunity because, like, I can make it work. My parents made it work. Like, there's no divorce on that side of my family. There's no divorce. Everyone makes it work. They've all been married for so many
But are
years.
they making it work?
Oh, no, they're making it work. That's what I mean.
There's making it work and then they're staying together. That's 2
Yeah,
totally different
yes,
things.
but they won't. But yeah, but they are. But yeah, there's no divorce. So it's like for me, oh, because my mom stayed with my dad, and it's
You're right.
I, there's anger. I like it scares me. Like, what if I had tried to do that? And I did for a while. That's part of why I was like, I'm getting divorced, is because I tried to do the make it work thing, do everything that I possibly could do to help the marriage, and it wasn't enough. It wasn't working.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I we're running
Oh yeah.
I
Oh.
idolized my mother. I hated and I'm going to be I'm going to be real honest. And here it is. I idolized and hated my mother all at the same time growing up for most of my life. I I would look forward to her coming to visit. And yet, at the same time, literally simultaneously, when she would come to visit, I would be cleaning. And what I didn't realize was a trigger. I would be cleaning and I would be stressing, making sure everything was
Mhm.
clean and making sure everything was put away. And I would be making sure that we had things planned out. And when she was here, I would wait on her hand and foot and I would not complain and I would just do all the things and I would cook all the meals, even though like half the time I never cooked on a normal basis. I ordered out. No, I'm going to go fetch and clean and do all of these things. And I would do all of these things and I couldn't, um, and growing up, it was all she was I would hate her and want to be her all at the same time. And it was a struggle for me. And when I had to go no contact and I went no contact for a myriad of reasons, it did break me. It broke me. It broke me because I had to let go of that ideal and that because of what I held on to, why I idolized her, why I was like, because she was my mother and I had this hope, this that and it was this we have a great relationship as long as I was at a certain point and I had this ideal and this idea of her in my head.
Mhm.
So it's like that mask. I was in love with the mask. I idolized the mask and hated the person that was underneath that mask.
Mhm.
And I was and I knew that person was behind that mask, but I didn't want to acknowledge it. So it's like don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain. Like you knew the wizard
Yeah.
was fake, but it was that and it was one of those when I finally stopped idolizing the idea in my head and came to that
Mhm.
realization and dealt with the person that was, it broke me and it was very sad and it hurts and it still hurts. And I'm going to make
Yeah.
that it hurts. And there are times where I'm like, oh, well, maybe I could just let her back in my life. It's fine. Maybe I can. And then she says and does things that are reminders about why she's not in my life, and they still hurt. So we are not saying on today on Mother's Day that all mothers are bad. We're not. Our
Mm-mm.
and Sean idolized his mother. His mom, like he's very much a mama's boy. That's what I mean.
I
Let's
am.
see. Yeah, and then that's
To
just
to realize that my mother, this was one of those the last 24 hours things, to realize my mother was not the victim that I thought she was sad, and it was kind of heartbreaking, that yes, she had her own trauma, things that were going on with her, but she wasn't the victim that I had portrayed her as. She
there.
Yeah, makes
It's coming to the realization, and I say this to everybody in our audience, and it's coming to that, in that, for I know for me, and I can assume for Sean, it's realizing when your parents and your mothers, because your mothers are such a big influence in your life. Now, not everybody has ever been. Some are people are adopted. Some had very toxic
Mhm,
mothers from the get go and didn't have good relationships with their moms. We acknowledge that as too. We
mhm,
acknowledge that being and for example, my mother was my mother, but the person who I consider that raised me and the person that I consider my mother, Don Darrow's mom, Jan, she
mhm,
was there. She was my mom's
yep,
best friend. She is the
yep,
only reason that I did not commit suicide. They're the only reason that I am even somewhat of a decent human being today. And she helped raise me. And that is a mom.
John's mom's great.
And John's mom, shut up.
I did what?
No, no, no.
I didn't
We are
say
talking
anything.
nice about John's mom. We are not talking. We are not. Don't dirty it up, pep pep. um, we understand mother, and as a mother, we understand that Mother's Day is hard for a lot of people, and Mother's Day is great for a lot of people. And as a mom, I understand that every relationship is different. How they feel towards their mother is different. And it is a unique thing because every person is different. But I encourage everyone, no, even if you have a great relationship with your mother or your mother, remember, remember that your mom is human. And I think that that's where I had to get to in my healing is my mom was human. Isn't John Swan 3? Sean's name is Pip Pip.
I mean, we'll talk about that later.
Remember your mom is human. And that's where I had to get to in
Yes.
my healing is that even all of the hardships and the struggles that I go through, I had to remember that she's human. And I have to give her a little bit of grace in that she's going to make mistakes. And just like I'm a mom and I make mistakes.
Mhm.
And that
Yep.
doesn't mean I have to, just because I can acknowledge that she's human and acknowledge her flaws and her traumas
Mhm.
and her issues, does not mean I have to let her steamroll me either.
That's correct. With anyone, you can love someone from a different zip code, from a different area. You can love them without contact, whether it's family, a friend, anyone. Yeah.
And she constantly, like, mothers are human too. And honestly, as a mother, we are weird creatures
Y'all
because
are.
we're dealing with our own mental issues, our own emotional issues. We're
Mhm.
still trying to be a woman and be a mom. Like, apparently you're not allowed to be a mom that's sexy. You're not allowed to be like, it's like a whole thing. It's a whole thing
Or
that we're trying to balance.
a good mom with a great career, or a great mom with a great career,
Don't get me started
right?
on that one.
That's a
Mm-mm. That's one
yeah.
I'm fighting
Mhm.
every day. Like, but
Yep.
you know what? You're going to do the best we can. I'm going to do the best I can. They're doing the best they
Mhm.
can. And you know what?
Yep.
That's okay. Um, I really honestly, Sean, I hope that you can work through that stuff and maybe work on it with your mom and get the opportunity that I
Yeah.
didn't get. I don't know if you will, but
Yeah.
you know,
I have a little bit. There's a few things that I have, but not the stuff that has I've realized recently. That's some stuff that needs to be done. There's still some work that needs to be done, but I've got to do the work. It's all about doing the hard work. Because if you don't, then you're not going to go anywhere.
honestly, I think Mother's Day and Father's Day is bullshit. I mean, I know it's a Hallmark holiday. I know it's about, celebrating,
Hmm.
like celebrating mom, whatever. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. Now I'm going to leave it at this. I believe it. This
Hmm.
is, there
All right.
are great moms out there. There are
Hmm.
fantastic moms out there. There are mediocre moms out there. There are
Hmm.
moms who don't want to be moms that have like there are shitty moms out there. There are
Hmm.
super shitty moms out there. We come in all shapes, colors, and levels of goodness. Like it's to idolize your mom is dangerous. Have a
Yep.
do the work on yourself and then try to work on the relationship with your mom. But just remember, if you had a shitty
Hmm.
mom, it's okay. That doesn't mean that you can't have somebody that you love. You know, if
And
you had a great mom,
hmm.
that doesn't mean you should feel guilty for having a great mom. And if you had a shitty
Yep.
mom, that doesn't mean that you should feel
Yep.
bad that you didn't have the great mom. Like there will come a
You had
time
what
where
you
you're
had.
just your own perfect. You had what you had. You didn't have a choice. You just sort of popped out
Yes,
or
that's
cut out or
correct.
whatever. You didn't have a choice. And
Hmm.
that's okay. That's okay. Don't feel
Yep.
bad because you had a great relationship with your mom and your friends didn't. That's fine. Celebrate that. And you know what?
Yep.
If you had a bad relationship with your mother, celebrate the fact that you're surviving. Celebrate the fact that you can
Hmm.
do better. And you know what?
Hmm.
That's where I sit with that. Like Mother's Day is let's that's how I feel about it.
You tell it. There you go.
Good moms, bad
Hmm.
moms, whatever. There you didn't have a choice on your mom.
Yep.
But
And
that's fine.
sometimes, and some, well, and sometimes the mom is not the biological mom. Your breast mom is not your biological mom for whatever reason.
Mine mine certainly wasn't. I can tell
Yep.
you right now.
So.
Jan is Jan is my saving grace.
Hmm.
Like I get emotional thinking about it. Like she saved me. She was the mom that I needed.
Hmm.
So, when my mom was being the mom that I didn't need. So,
Yeah.
I got very lucky. So, Don Dara, you better treat her right, or I swear to God, I will come after you.
That goes. That goes for me too.
Oh, see, yours is different. Shut up. Why do you have to be that human? I was having an emotional moment, and you have to go. Not my mom, Sean. Not my mom. Anyway, this one was a little deeper, a little bit more serious. This is one that Sean is actually starting to really struggle with. So I was trying not to bully him, and
Yeah.
it's emotional for me. So we were sort of a little back and forth on it, but Sean wanted to. This is
Plow
you
through it.
can
I
blame.
wanted to.
He wanted to plow through
Yeah.
it. We
On
actually
top
had
of being
something different done today. So
on top of being a emotionally difficult topic, emotions themselves are very difficult for me to
emotional
emotional.
damage.
Yes. So not only are the emotions themselves hard, but for me dealing with the emotions, dealing with a lot of emotions is difficult. So it's a twofer for me. But I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do the hard work.
Yes. So that it was one of those. It was a little deep, a little dark, a little all over the place. But I was honestly, I was trying to give. I have done some work on my issues, my mommy issues. But Sean is this is a new topic for him, so I was trying to give him a little grace with that. So I thank you guys for being here with us and giving us a little grace yourselves. Um, I think we'll probably do our topic that we were going to do this week next week. So
Mhm.
that'll
Yeah,
be
probably.
that'll be fine. And thank you for joining us for waking up with Nana
Mhm.
and PepPep and on this Mother's Day. And if you don't speak to your mom, I understand that it's hard. If you have lost your mother, I understand that this day is actually a very painful reminder when you see all the commercials. Trust me, my first Mother's Day, after going no contact, and I know how I felt seeing those Mother's Day commercials. I can't imagine what you guys feel like. I
Mhm.
can't. So I understand that it is hard, and just know, um, it that we support you. We understand that it is difficult, and take care of yourselves today. And I know that's take care. I know that that's not talked about a lot. So, for those of you who struggle on days like Mother's Day or Father's Day, take care of yourself today. And it's okay to be sad or angry or hurt or just just want to plow through the day. That's okay. For those of you who have great relationships with your parents and your mom, celebrate her. If you have a good relationship with your mom, celebrate her. Really do, because
Mhm.
if you feel really close and safe with your mom, that's a rare and awesome thing. And you know really celebrate that. So whatever you got to do today, it's a weird day, but we understand that this runs an emotional gambit for all of us. So yeah. Thank you for
Thanks for
joining
being
us
here.
today. Thanks for
Mhm.
being here, Sean. Thank you for being honest. I want to say that. I know that this was difficult for you, and you probably
It
like
was.
chewed your nails all to bits like right now. It's what he does when he gets nervous. So
I'm a
I
chewer.
appreciate you.
Yeah.
Your um. So anyway, I'm done rambling. Go eat lunch. It's lunchtime. Feed yourself, hydrate.
Mhm.
Tonight, 8 p.m., 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central, BSBN Gaming. Go follow any and all of us. I don't have my touch portal up, so I don't do the cool thing that John does. Go follow one of our channels.
We're gonna fix that.
Um, I know they're gonna fix it. So Dondero, Miko, All Hope, Jay, Great Big Bear, Nev, just follow all of us. It's gonna be gaming tonight. I have no idea what we're gaming. I'm sure that they've discussed it while we were talking.
Probably.
Tomorrow, speaking of therapist, our resident hottie with a PhD,
Yep.
Miko and nope. Okay, great, Big Bear.
Mhm.
Miko and Glitch, hanging out with Auntie and Unc. It's a great show. It's on Miko's channel, and that is at 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central. They talk all things. Sean's gonna type in the chat. They talk things
Mhm.
of with therapy and mental health, and it's amazing. And they do real talk, and it's awesome. Then after that, on twitch.tv/the Don Darrow, it is D101 with me and Don Darrow. And that is at 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central. We are the reason policies are made. So it's a lot of chaos. And then afterwards, right here on Nerd Mom Ace at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central, a Roogs happy hour where I try to drink to forget what happened in Don Darrowing 101. It's me,
Mhm.
Sean, John, Shep, and whoever else. It's
Whoever else joins
basically
us.
us hanging out, having some drinks, shooting the shit, and that's usually where we decide what we're talking about on Dinks with Kinks. So that is
Mhm.
from now until through Monday. So lots of good content in the next 48 hours. And thank you for joining us.
Mhm.
Follow us on all of our social media. Well, my social media is Sean's is sort of hidden. He likes to keep his under
It's out
wraps. So
there.
um, anything at Nerd Mom Ace, that's on anything. So look it up if you want to follow. And thanks for joining us. and have a great Sunday, guys. Bye.
Bye.